that particular race and nation. And we imbibe the characteristics of that particular nation and race. And keep with us the tendencies of the characteristics. And every time take off the non-essentials. Keep the essentials. So the non-essentials are there in our life, and the essentials also are there. We are expected to use the non-essentials temporarily and gain the essentials for a permanent value and gather all the experiences in our tendencies and become a full-fledged human being, a fully blossomed human being. Among the essentials and non-essentials, we are expected to distinguish if we want to know the real values and the meaning of our life, why we are living on this earth, where to the direction is being driven, and what is the goal of our birth and life. These are the questions that come to us after a certain time, and it is the earnestness and sincerity to achieve the answers of these questions that makes us really progress in life. Until then, we progress in every birth, no doubt. We progress at every age, but without knowing, we progress in the non-essentials. We may think that we are progressing, but after a time we find that we are progressing into something which is not necessary. And there will be a waste of time. Now, I will tell you what are the non-essentials and what are the essentials, not according to my explanation, but according to the explanation of the masters of wisdom, about whom our hosts asked me to speak this evening. In the university, in the classroom, you will find chairs, the blackboard, chalk piece, and the duster, and the lights. This is one set of articles required. The second set is the students and the professors. This is the second set of articles. Which is important? Is it the first set or the second set? Definitely it is the second set that is important. It is the students and the professors that make the purpose of the education and never the chairs and other things. But at the same time, the chairs and other things make it possible for the professors and students to proceed in their purpose. So they have their own importance, and relatively speaking, their importance is secondary. And sometimes we can get on without the unimportant things. If the chairs are not good, if the students and the professors are good, the studies will be good and the progress will be good. But if the quality of the chairs is very good, and if the blackboard is arranged in a most modern electronic way, and a chalk piece is arranged in an electronic way, so that when the professor is speaking, the chalk piece goes to the blackboard and begins to write whatever he speaks. Now we have a good quality blackboard, chalk piece and chair, everything electronic. But the students are not interested in studies, not because they are bad, but because the professor is not able to make it interesting. And what do you think about this? The first alternative is always better. If the chairs are very bad, if the blackboard is very bad, If the chalk piece is some black color and dark color, not writing properly, yet if the students and the professors are really interested in the subject, the results are according to the requirement. Similarly, in our life, we have essentials and non-essentials. We should give the relative importance according to the essentials and non-essentials. Just as in the school or college, the chairs and other things are of a temporary value. For example, a student never takes his chair home after he leaves his university, but he takes the diploma as the symbol of what he is taking from the professors. That is the knowledge and the wisdom. Just like that, if we compare our life and understand the essentials and non-essentials of our life and give the proper importance according to the necessity, then we will find the meaning of evolution. Then we will find the meaningfulness of why we are living, why our birth took place, and towards what direction the evolution of our soul is going. And now let us compare the essentials and non-essentials. This whole total constitution, as understood by the masters, is double, twofold. That is consciousness and matter. Consciousness is sheathed or clothed in matter, and the consciousness is awakening the matter. There is a good relationship between consciousness and matter. And of the two, the consciousness is important, because without consciousness the body is a corpse. We can't honor the corpse. We honor a person. We look to the face of a person, but we will never speak to the face, but we will speak to the person. We will look to the eyes, but we will never speak to the eyes, but we will speak to the person through the eyes. We are automatically doing all these things daily. The average man is not expected to know them in detail. But the student of spiritual evolution is expected to know this, just as the medical student is expected to know the anatomy of the human body. Now understand which is important, your consciousness or your body. Is it for your consciousness that your body is existing? Or is it for the body the consciousness is existing? If you understand that you are in the body, it is wrong. If you understand that the body is with you, you are right. If you understand that the magnetism is concealed in the magnet, it is wrong. But if you understand that the magnetism is radiating out of the magnet, and the activity of the magnet is controlling the matter and the mass of the magnet, that is, the magnetic lines of force of the magnet are controlling the physical part of the magnet. That means you have understood the magnet. Like that, it is for you, the consciousness, the whole body is constructed. It is around you, the body is constructed. It is your duty to see that your consciousness is not conditioned by your body. Just as the water or a drink poured in an impure bottle, the water becomes impure. A consciousness that is conditioned by the matter of the body can work as only a conditioned consciousness and not pure consciousness. So we should know what is pure consciousness and how consciousness should be kept pure. The body requires food and drink, but we do not require food or this is the scientific aspect of it. But we feel that we want food and drink. This is the unscientific part of our observation. That is, we have confused the essentials and non-essentials. Confused the essentials and non-essentials. And we have to rearrange once again. The Indian scriptures say that avidyaya mrutyum tirtva vidyaya amritamasnute. That means cross the temporary values with the temporary vehicle and live with permanent values, knowing yourself permanent. So, cross ignorance by living in the non-essential, using them as vehicles. Do not ignore the vehicles. You feed the vehicle according to taste, eat according to the need of the body, never eat according to the taste of the tongue. At the same time, enjoy the taste of the tongue. Remember that the mind is enjoying the taste of the tongue and not yourself, the consciousness. When we know this, we know the meaning of the whole course of evolution. We know that the consciousness is manifesting more and more as age advances in our life, until the boy is a full-blown youth, and then this vehicle becomes old. The consciousness gains experience, and this vehicle recedes with all its faculties, and the consciousness drops this vehicle off, and it selects its own vehicle according to its own present need. The need depends upon the present degree of illumination. The more illuminated the inner consciousness is, the more will be the need to select the race and the nation and the society. Everything is selective about our birth. And the consciousness is attracted towards the required type of parents according to the complementary psychological values of the parents and the child. For example, if the child lived a cruel life in the previous life, he will be attracted to such parents who do not like him. And then there will be a constant struggle while he grows up. In the house, the child will be a problem to the parents will be a problem to the children, and all the three will receive their education in this life so that they may find their compromising behavior in the next life. Just as we learn by experience through years, we learn by experience through births and rebirths. This is about the evolution described by the masters of wisdom. The nations in the Occident have certain quality. The nations in the Orient have some other quality. And people who are immature may think that each nation is great in its own way. I may think that the Indian nation is the greatest. An Englishman may think that the English language is the greatest. There is a proverb that when two Englishmen were speaking, the one said, if God were to come to the earth and if he were asked to talk, he talks only in English, because English is the only good language. That is how the average Englishman may think. And an average Indian may think that gods speak in Indian language. But the fact is different. We may think that the Westerns are materialistic, and we may think that the Orientals are non-practical and spiritualistic. It is only a rough way of understanding things. But every nation has its own qualities which are to be developed. And nature keeps you born in one nation for some time until you develop those strong qualities of that nation, and then you will be transferred to another nation. This is how the evolution of the human beings goes. And the whole plan and syllabus of traveling from one nation to another nation is decided by an earth planet consciousness, which is called the Manu of this earth. In course of the vast expanses of time, through many thousands and thousands of years, the human evolution goes on, and the evolution of consciousness is governed by a collective planetary consciousness of this earth, which governs for some thousands and thousands of years. And then it changes, and another planetary consciousness begins to germinate on this earth. So the human being who lived in the past is different from the human being who lives in the present. The mind was different, the quality of the mind was different, and the understanding was different. So it will be different in the next thousands and thousands of each period of planetary consciousness that governs the evolution of the human races of this earth is called a Manu. There are 14 Manus who rule over the consciousness of this earth, and the calculations are there in the ancient scriptures of India. Of course, the orthodox average Indian knows everything by the fingertips. When we have a total idea of all these things, we will be able to know what Manu is. This Manu consciousness works in a local place according to the necessity, and he is called the Manu in the physical body at that age. For example, the present Manu is called Vaivasvata Manu. Like that, there are 14 Manus. And he decides, the planetary consciousness decides where each of us are to be born and what type of evolution we are to take further. According to this, we have to lead our daily life, lead our mundane life. You have to satisfy your physical body and senses, your appetites of hunger, thirst and sex, your necessities of rest and sleep, your needs of work and your routine and program and planning, according to the order of priority, according to the essentials and non-essentials. If we care more for the taste of our food, we are spending too much time upon an unnecessary. If we care too much upon our shoes and boots and their polish, if we are too much worried about our house and bank balances and property, we are burning our time in non-essentials. No doubt you should be able to manage all these things properly, but once you begin to think of these things and attribute values to these things, and you begin to believe that they are more valuable than yourself, that means you are lost. That means there is a failure in the examination this year. You have to appear for the same examination once again. That means you have to take the next birth only to learn the same lessons foolishly. This is the essence of the teaching of the masters of wisdom. And they want to clothe this wisdom in the language according to our capacity to comprehend. They see through centuries, and they see the psychology of the century. They will know how the characteristic nature of the human mind of the century is working. They can know what the man of the century likes and what he likes not. They can know what he can understand and what he cannot understand. Then they will clothe this same wisdom in the language required by us, the human beings on this earth. In the language fit to be the medium of this century. They do not like one language or dislike another language. For example, some Orthodox Indians do not like English, and some English people do not like any other language except English. And the French-speaking man may think that Flemish is less important than French. And the Flemish-speaking man may think that French is less scientific. These are the non-essentials about which a spiritual student should not be foolish, about which one is not expected to spend too much time, because we should remember that language is only a medium of exchange of thought. Any political attitude towards languages is only an animal instinct to the human being. So, the Indian or the English or the French or the Belgian should know that his language should be the medium of the thought of other languages, and he should be able to know the thought and the language of the century man of the globe. This is what the masters do. They will not criticize the political attitudes of any part of the world. They will never enter into the cheap type of political ideas of the people. If I feel that my language is the highest in the world, the masters train me in such a way that I will write some books on the wisdom of the masters in my own language and teach these books with great zeal and devotion and enthusiasm. They do the same experiment with 10 people belonging to 10 different languages. Everyone is narrow enough to drive in his own language. Everyone is political enough to follow his own language for the thought. But the result is, at the end of this century, the same wisdom is radiated through 10 languages. So, the animal and lower instincts of the human beings also can be utilized in a better manner. So, they never criticize us for our cheaper values we have. They never enter into discussion with anything. They direct people who are ready. This is a bit about the masters and their purpose. And now let us consider a few ideas that are popular about the masters. I can say there are fantastic ideas about the masters on this earth. Some people think that the masters have no physical bodies and they live somewhere in the Himalayas and they cannot be seen, or somewhere in the Alps, or somewhere under the deep seas of some portion, or in the caves of and temples of jungles. And many people think that the masters are like devils and spirits. That is, they are going in space. And if I close my eyes, take a pen in my hand and put a paper under it, the master directly comes to my head. He enters my hand, he catches my hand and makes me write some nonsense, so that I fill pages and pages in the name of a master and say that Master Moria is advising us like this, and say Master Kuthumi has dictated me something like. We have so many fantastic ideas like this, which are not at all real, excuse me, because the masters themselves said we are no miracles. We are human beings on this earth, having a body of our own like you. We too have our own needs, though we do not have desires. That is the one marked difference. We ordinary people have needs and desires. The masters have only need